Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to a divisional round victory edition, yes, of the AP breakdown. We're used to those things around here. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at arrowheadpride.com. With me, as always, for these film breakdowns, Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. We're breaking it down all for you from the Chiefs Texans game, 23-14 victory over Houston. Another win over Kansas City over Houston in the playoffs. We've seen that a few times, and whether it's the Oilers, whether it's the Astros, we've seen it a few times, Caleb. But I don't know, how'd you enjoy the divisional round win?
It was a great win. Obviously, the divisional, when you're the 1 seed, is the first step to getting back, and the Chiefs went in there. Wasn't always pretty, but they did take care of business, and they find themselves in a 7th consecutive AFC Championship game. Now, we'll have a little Bills talk here after a little bit. I know we're going to do a lot of breaking down this game tonight, but Kansas City owns Houston. I don't think there's much debate about it at this point. It's third time in the Reid era the Chiefs have defeated the Texans in the playoffs. And if you throw in some of like the baseball stuff and other stuff, it's just been an impressive level of domination for Kansas City.
Yeah, no, I will give a shout out to Miles Johnson for asking how do we feel about the Bills, because yes, that is the AFC Championship opponent upcoming Sunday, 5:30, the last game of the NFL postseason before the Super Bowl. Very excited. I mean, yeah, I was kind of hoping the Ravens would make that comeback just to have some overtime for either team to just have a more extended game. I don't know. I mean, did you have any lean on which team you did want to see, and did it turn out the way you wanted?
I had a feeling the Bills were going to win. That's kind of just where I've been thinking all week. I thought, for them, they were, both teams were desperate, obviously, to win that game and move on. I just kind of like the vibe around Buffalo a little bit more. Baltimore, they just weren't quite the same juggernaut this year that they were last year. I think even despite Lamar being good, and it's more than just the quarterback matchup. Like, I didn't think Baltimore's defense held up the way they needed to in some big moments down the line. Obviously they had a chance to tie it late. It was just the Bills made more big plays, and the Ravens kind of squandered a few opportunities and turning the ball over, making mistakes.
I'll let that comment speak for itself. It's that kind of week. But hey, I definitely came out of that game thinking, I would way rather play the Ravens just because Josh Allen, you want to play the lesser quarterback, and, it's not maybe by much, or, well, maybe it is quite a separation, but I mean, I don't know. Josh Allen to me is definitely the second best quarterback in the NFL. And the thing is, though, when I keep thinking about this Bills team and what's around him, he has a great offensive line, right? Definitely some solid playmakers, but I don't know. I think the Chiefs have a chance to have the advantage in a lot of facets of that game if they just play their game and do their thing. But we will maybe talk a little bit about that more as the show goes on. But, early impressions are, I think that was the most epic matchup. I think that is, Chiefs-Ravens is a great matchup, but I think Chiefs-Bills, we've just had it so many times, Josh Allen versus Mahomes. I think that's the top-tier matchup. So I'm excited we're getting that one, Caleb.
Most definitely. I mean, this is the matchup that the NFL has been wanting since that 2021. 13 seconds. They've been trying to get this matchup set up, and they had it last year, and it came down to the wire. Just a completely highly contested game. The Chiefs were down, then they came back, then the Bills came back, and it came down to a last-second field goal going the wrong way for Buffalo, and the Chiefs were able to punch out that clock late in the game there, as we remember. This year could very well be just about as close. Obviously, the Bills got the win in the regular season there. So,
again, fourth straight year
they got the they win in the regular season, but then you go back and take a look at things, and you're like, there were things the Chiefs left on the table.
Yeah,
and
especially this year.
And there's personnel stuff. I mean, it may not seem like a long time. I mean, it's pre-Thanksgiving, and pre-Thanksgiving to mid-January in the NFL is a long time. It's a long time for stuff to happen. New faces all over for both teams. So,
yeah, there are. It is both sides. I mean, I know it's easy for us to look at, who we have on defense back, Jalen Watson, Charles Omenihu. But I do remember one takeaway after that, the Chiefs' first loss and only loss the starters had all season was how slow the offense looked, right? I don't think you can say this offense is slow anymore. That's for sure, with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy firmly inserted into the mix. So again, we're fired up for that game. But we did have a strong victory on Saturday, this past Saturday, Caleb. And it was a defensive victory, low-scoring game, 23-14. The Texans really tried to grind out the clock, keep the ball away from the Chiefs. And, it worked to an extent. The Chiefs offense had a very low yardage total, but Chiefs defense just knows how to, crank it up on the right third downs and the red zone, just limit points. And that's what we got on Sunday or Saturday, wasn't it?
Absolutely, man. And it was a pass rush. I mean, it was just a frenzy, especially late in the game. So early on in the game, the Texans did kind of do a good job of limiting the Chiefs' big rush chances. And when I say big rush chances, I mean they used a lot of play action type stuff. They used a lot of, just stuff you would think is unconventional to be able to get not unconventional. I'm sorry. They used a lot of stuff that wasn't traditional in the passing game. It's more just run action, play action type stuff that they used to seal the pocket. They ran the ball well with Mixon, but as the game starts to continue and wear on, they started to lose that ability once they were down 2. And then late in the game when they just couldn't run the ball, they couldn't afford to really do any of that stuff. That took away the play action. That's because their offensive line is bad. And let's start out with my man, George Karlaftis, because he was on an all-time heater this game, and he was a fourth quarter nightmare for Buffalo. And just take a look at this one. So the Bills, and let's just take a look, because George Karlaftis makes the plays, but it's all set up for a reason. The Chiefs are showing this blitz to the other side. They've got Bolton walked up, but look, you also got Chris Jones on the same side of the field here that Karlaftis is on. And what that triggers is the slide protection is they actually slide away, right? Because they slide towards the blitz. So Chris is going to get a one-on-one, and he's starting to penetrate the pocket also. You see O'Mena who's starting to penetrate the pocket as well from kind of that super loop spot. But where George comes through here, you see the tight end gives a little help, just a pass off. But I didn't think the Texans' right tackle was, Blake Fisher. I didn't think he was anything to get worked up about last week. I thought he may have been one of the weak links, and it was apparent he was because Karlaftis just makes this look easy. He's just a little rip. He doesn't have to bend the arc. Stroud's pocket awareness wasn't real great when it needed to be, and this is kind of an example of that. He's drifting, he's fluttering. He should be getting the ball out right now, because you do have O'Menahue and Chris Jones starting to come from the interior, and then he wants to kind of wait and scramble, but Karlaftis brings him down for the sack. So,
yeah, no, you're right. There was a path there. I think if he kind of was quicker to the decision to try to get out of that. But yeah, no, there was I'm sure you're probably going to show it, the Chris Jones sack on Blake Fisher. That was pretty nice as well. No, it was a good, confidence building game for the Chiefs pass rush, no doubt about it.
And here's that play you just talked about.
There we go.
But it's just the magic of Spags, the magic of this team. Look at this. You got Shamari Connor walking up to the line of scrimmage, Bolton, and then you've got the other corner, Roland Smith, kind of coming through also, and you've got all these guys, and it's just confusing, right? The Texans front, they're kind of unsure what they're supposed to be doing, so they just kind of base up. They just kind of go big on big. Hey, take the guy in front of you. We have a running back to help with everyone else. Well, when you do that, they're so worried about everyone else, they forgot that, Chris Jones is on Blake Fisher, and this is just, that's too easy for Chris Jones. He's going to win a matchup versus a short-armed, unexplosive tackle like Fisher. He's going to win that matchup a lot. That was easy. That's one of the easier playoff sacks that Chris Jones will find, and, Stroud trying to get out of it late. And I think if Stroud does manage to get away from Jones and runs upfield, look how fast O'Menahue was coming in. Yeah. He shot out of a cannon on this little twist game they got going here. A little super loop, giving the Texans a taste of their own medicine. So, even Karlaftis getting free too. So, it was a party in the backfield.
Well, and it's when you think about looking ahead of the Bills, who, Spencer Brown, kind of that size tackle that can try to physically match up with Chris Jones. Although was it him or was it against Deion Dawkins where he got the pressure last year in the to force the bad throw. I can't.
It was
recall.
Deion Dawkins,
It was
and
Dawkins.
Deion Dawkins can sometimes be susceptible to a bull rush because he does have a little bit shorter arms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he sits it down well sometimes, but I think he's more susceptible. Brown, I think, is more susceptible to speed rush. So I'll be interested to see if Karlaftis or, even Omenihu, because Omenihu, you remember now, he's just as long as a lot of these tackles are. He takes a lot of guys by surprise with how, he's not like the quick, like put my shoulder to the ground edge rusher guy, but he's so long and flexible. He's able to just kind of work his way around people. So that could be interesting to see.
That's why I like them as an inside pass rusher. We just haven't really seen them pull that trigger too much. It feels like he is still always on the edge, which his ability to get around the edge and make the tomahawk chop is great. But I do like how he can just kind of work through the interior pass rush and get into the front of the pocket. I feel like they haven't really utilized that as much.
And as the game went on, I felt like there was definitely concerted effort to keep Stroud contained because, he did have some runs the last couple of weeks. He showed off his legs, but I actually like the play here. FAU had a pretty good game. He had one TFL, and then he comes up with a sack here. He just keeps playing, but just a smart contain for the Chiefs. Chris Jones not on the field, so they're not like just dying to get back there. Like obviously George is working, but you see what George is doing here. Like he's just feeling Fisher out. Like this isn't like just all out, go out pass rush. They're keeping him in the pocket. They want to keep him in the pocket here. They're keeping him contained. You see George just kind of hand fighting on the other side, just slow playing it, feeding in. And then, Stroud sees him start to come in, so he panics. But this is when FAU just keeps playing, shows off some of the athleticism, comes up with a sack there for FAU. So that was nice to see him get involved in this also.
Well, and if you run that back just one more time, just to show it one more time with FAU sack, because I think we're seeing it more and more with just his overall play is his ability to disengage from the block in general and just kind of, be able to be strong enough to kind of, he didn't get off the block right away, right? That was kind of more of a counter move after the initial engagement. But yeah, he shucked him and got into the play. Like, I feel like we weren't seeing that as much, even as early as this, early parts of this season. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but watch him in like press conferences in the locker room or whatever. I just feel like he's a little more built, no, I shouldn't even say a little more, noticeably more built. He's got his neck is a lot bigger. He's got them traps all of a sudden. So, shout out Felix. He's been working, I think.
Most definitely. And he has been working and just showing off that athleticism. And you know what? Second effort this week against a guy like Josh Allen, that is going to be a big key because he does not go down on the first rush often. He does not go down on always the second attempt either some of the time. So let me skip ahead here. I think I've got some Charles Omenihu stuff.
Well, I will say one thing about Josh Allen because you mentioned him. With that offensive line playing as well as it is, I do feel like Spags needs to be pretty aggressive about blitzing. I don't think they should in important pass downs. I don't think the Chiefs need to necessarily trust their 4-man rush at all. No matter how strong, or how well they feel like they're playing or how, fresh they are. Chris Jones, Omenihu, Karlaftis is a great trio, but Josh Allen is a really good combination with that kind of offensive line. Like we talked about two, pretty strong cornerstones on the edge. So I think they have to be sending a lot of additional rushers this week.
Here's another one of those Karlaftis sacks. Look at just look at CJ Stroud pre-snap. Like, you've got Bolton lurking, Tranquil Bo lurking, Justin Reed lurking. Like, he's not comfortable. They're checking stuff at the line of scrimmage. He's making a call that's flipping the running back protection. As you'll see, this gets a little goofy here. Now they're all pointing out to the right because Chris Jones is out there. So you just see, like, there's confusion. So, like, the Texans wanted to talk about the referees a lot in the locker room. Their offensive line looked like they should have spent more time focusing on their game plan or 5-man protection or 6-man protection, because you should expect to see stuff like this from the Chiefs. But I mean, look at everyone point. I mean, you see this, right? All these offensive linemen, like, look at the guards there. They're all pointing at this guy going, hey, Laramie, that's Chris Jones right over there. We got to go this way, dude. So what's this open up, of course? Oh, and you've got Omenihu out here also. They're paying close attention to him.
There's an inside rush. There you go.
Well, this opens up. You have Dalton Schultz, not a prolific pass blocker against Karlaftis. And you have their other running back coming over, and he just makes this look as simple and easy as he can, while Chris Jones takes Laramie Tunsil into the backfield as well. And you see how, like, Stroud is, like, clearly keyed in on this because that's where everyone's pointing, that it's like he just forgot that he's got a tight end and running back trying to take on a really gritty, strong player like Karlaftis, who just makes quick work of them, and he puts a lick on him that he didn't even see coming. You just see, like, that excitement. That was sack number 3 for George, so you see how fired up he was.
Yeah, no, honestly, it is, true, about, first of all, just Karlaftis on tight ends, you saw it, and I'm sure you're going to have that other play too, but it's just, when you talk about the Texans acting like, they had a legitimate chance to, win the game and everything, and absolutely, they were in that game, but there were so many execution things on their side. The fourth down play that Karlaftis got the other sack on, they broke the huddle with 6 seconds on the play clock and didn't take a timeout, and in a very crucial moment on a 4th and 10, and it ended up with
let's get into that real quick.
Yeah, no,
it's like, this is just, I mean, look, your offensive line's not even set, and Stroud's already clapping his hands. So you just kind of take a look here, and Stroud clapping his hands. They're in a hurry. Like, they don't even know what's going on. Like, Nico Collins has no idea what's happening. All you see is Chris Jones here. You see Jaden Hicks on the backside, Justin Reed on the backside, and Nick Bolton. McDuffie's lurking also. You've got all this stuff just right here in and around the line of scrimmage. And so they kind of just cop out, and they just go full slide Chris Jones again. And you see they do bring their back to the other side of the field, and he kind of just he does cut Hicks. But why is Karlaftis? I mean, they did not have as much respect for George Karlaftis as they should have.
But it almost, again, this was the play that they broke the huddle at 6 seconds. Like, is there something to, maybe if they gave themselves a little more time, if they had the timeout, in the same situation, maybe they, adjust the, are able to adjust the protection. Stroud's walking up there. He's just saying, hey, I'm just calling something out. Again, like you said, just slide to Chris. Like, that's all I had to worry about. Not even, considering the fact that, again, and this was, again, the second time after. Was this after, or was this before the other Karlaftis sack?
This was the first one. I went out of order. The first one I showed was actually the second one, which is the first play of the last drive. The last one I showed was the third down in the red zone. And then this one is the first one, which is a fourth down play. And this was, I think this was a pretty memorable era. This would be a pretty memorable Arrowhead moment during the playoff run, because the stadium was going crazy on this fourth down. Like, it was definitely the playoff Arrowhead back in action, if you remember that, Ron, from being there.
Oh, I mean, we've seen so many great playoff Arrowheads. There's only a few times and definitely this was one of those plays, for sure. I would agree, because everyone saw Karlaftis chasing him down after getting hype. But I have a feeling that we'll get another level of it this Sunday. That's all I'll say.
Most definitely. This play, I don't know, just stuck out in my mind. It's just, the crowd's crazy, the quarterback and offensive line, no one's on the same page. Just because,
what's funny is one of the biggest pops I remember from the game is the Hollywood Brown non-catch, that deep bomb that he, caught and got to the ground, and then it popped out. Like, that was one of the bigger crowd roars, honestly, and it didn't even count. Like, Arrowhead had left a few, there was a few roars that were saved for Sunday, I think. Just not enough popping plays to get him out of us.
Most definitely. I got just a couple more I'm going to show here. I'm hunting.
Shout out Gray Skull. He was also there. We were there with the Gray Skull. Not as cold as last year's Dolphins game. I don't know if you were there. Caleb, were you there? I can't remember now.
I was there at the Dolphins game. It was,
of course you were,
something else.
Yeah. No, definitely an advantage, I would say. But it won't be with Buffalo, and it's not supposed to be a cold game anyway. So I think that'll, too cold of a game. So I think that'll work out.
Most definitely. Oh, and Charles Omenihu is he's doing some stuff, man. Since he's been back, it's just been like back-to-back seasons. He's just elevating the defensive line at the biggest times. And he's got to be extra motivated now because he lost darn near the whole season from having his injury in the AFC Championship game last year. Now he's got a chance to come back, and he had a great AFC Championship game last year. I mean, he had dominating performance, and he's just him, Jones, and Karlaftis, man, just any way you put it, that is a formidable pass rush that you have to prepare for. I mean, you can't go into the game blind versus them because even here, you've got Karlaftis and Jones coming off the edges. So, like, yeah, they're recognizing this, but you just have – I mean, this is just too easy versus a decently seasoned guard like Shaq Mason. You don't really expect this to happen. I know he's come back off an injury, but you see he's like he looks a little unprepared with Bolton there. Like he's not for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Omenihu just is all over that, just throwing a slap, getting around the edge there. And then what I love about Omenihu, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league at doing this. He does such a good job of getting the ball out when his just timing is awesome. And he's an explosive athlete. He doesn't look the most bendy because he's kind of tall and long, but he's so flexible and so quick off the line. He is in some ways, I think he is like Chris Jones. If Chris Jones was 50 or 60 pounds lighter, they play extremely similarly, but just that versatility of him, Jones, and then Karlaftis, and even I'll throw in, I think Tershawn Wharton's going to be real big in the game plan this week against Buffalo also. I just think that having this versatility, this versatile bunch of guys is going to be really big. And then I got one play. It is not a pass rush, but I still wanted to show it anyway because I think that it's just absurd that it happened again in one calendar football season. And I'm talking about the block that Leo had, if I can pull it up, because it's the same play they had against Denver and won the game off of. And this just to me again feels like the Chiefs being thorough in every phase of the game and finding one weakness in a team. But I mean, this is crazy. I mean, look at Leo and George are pushing this tackle into the backfield. Justin Reed's get off is insane. Like Justin Reed's making this happen. I can't believe Justin Reed didn't get it from one, but then just to see Leo going from like full extension, going through people to get up like that and knock it down again, crazy. And I mean, that really did seal the game right there because they were just taking the points to try to give themselves a chance at a Hail Mary, and they couldn't even get that off after this one. So crazy you get another one of those. Crazy it's by the same guy. And I mean, all of a sudden now, if you're Buffalo, that's just one more phase of the game you have to be ready for because the Chiefs special teams are starting to turn it on at the right time also. They're starting to kind of look like that dominant unit that you needed. Arise is playing solid football. Butker didn't. They late in the game when they needed a field goal to go up 2 possessions, there was no hesitation whatsoever. They put Harrison Butker in and, send them to the AFC Championship game. And then the big return, obviously we don't want the fumble, but you just start to see the Chiefs starting to return kicks. I mean, a special teams unit, man, they come up big when you don't expect them to. So I've been a little critical of Dave Tobe in the past, but I will give him a shout out because I thought the special teams were enormous in this last game, and I think they'll be enormous down the line.
I'm still waiting on, it's the first year of the new kick return rule. I think Tobe's been waiting to pull out something. And honestly, maybe we won't see it until it's desperation mode. So maybe we don't hope to see it. No, I think it's a good way to wrap up the defensive talk because I think what you're seeing and maybe, what I was kind of maybe not sure we'd see at times this year, is the defense / special teams, just the non-offense units being able to carry the offense like we kind of saw last year in the postseason at times. They had to win the AFC Championship 17-7 last year or 17-10. And so I think you're kind of seeing the defense, with Jalen Watson back, obviously Charles Omenihu back, and another year of experience for all these young playmakers we've talked about. Like, I think this Chiefs is ready to step up and make their mark on whatever games they have left in this season. But I also think the offense is too. And I think the offense did run into an aggressive, tough Texans defense. I think you have to give credit to what Houston came in and focused on with the Chiefs. And to start, before we get into the clips, I do have a pretty, incredible stat, but it kind of just tells you how hard the Texans focused on it. So in week 16, when the Chiefs played the Texans, on passes thrown 2.5 seconds or faster, Mahomes was 17 of 19 passing, 155 yards and a touchdown. In this last game, he only had 7 completions the entire game on quick passes, 7 of 11, and had 31 total passing yards on quick passes compared to 155 the first game. And so I think we saw that first game was the iteration of the Chiefs kind of working, with Joe Tooney at left tackle, just trying to, get the ball out quickly with Hollywood Brown back, having guys that can actually create separation quickly, make plays with the ball in their hands. But the Texans really, really, defended that or challenged that hard. Honestly, I say all that, but I do want to start with the positive stuff, the big time stuff, Caleb, the big time plays we saw from the Hall of Fame players that were really like the only, big thing, kind of highlight reel plays we got from the offense all game were from Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Kelce had 117 of the 170 something yards, passing yards. And, when I talk about Travis Kelce, when I talk about the quick passing game, not having success and the Texans being focused on it, that just opened up the intermediate game. Mahomes was 5 for 5 on intermediate passes, which is between 10 and 19 air yards. And, had the not a touchdown, excuse me. Oh yeah, no, the touchdown to Kelce that we will see here in a second. But just watch the flow of the Texans defenders on a play action, obviously, where, they're going to have that flow up. Chiefs are in a heavy run formation, right, where you have 2 tight ends in the backfield, not necessarily a pass formation. And the Texans really, kind of bite into the flat defender. And Kelce can just run right past that slot defender, who's kind of just playing a little too aggressively up because that's what they were doing all game. And it's a first down. You're going to see it on his big play too, the 49-yard gain. Watch the flow of the Texans defenders that were over the middle of the field when the play started. All of them floated gray in the flat because, again, that was their mindset. That was their game plan in this game, was to really, not let the quick passing game, and yak beat them. And they just, even a guy like Travis Kelce, they somehow let loose into the second level. Great to see the old man get into open space. That might have, you know what? I retract. That was probably my favorite play, or kind of the biggest pop from the game. Caleb, was that one of your favorite moments from the game?
It definitely was. And then when he got into the open field, I was like, oh my God, he's got a chance to score. I was like, we haven't seen this in a while. But I mean, he just you show it off. Like, the Chiefs have got people so bamboozled with. I'm sorry, I muted myself there. But they've gotten people so bamboozled with Kelce. Like, your initial reaction is to take away Noah Gray and Hollywood Brown and just let Kelce go stand 20 yards away from Mahomes in the middle of the field. It's like, I don't know about all that, but I mean, this was awesome. And then just getting through there, some of that sneaky quick stuff that he's always been talking about is showing it off. Yeah,
no, it was good to see Kelce get a big game. It was his best game of the year by far, in almost every statistical category. It's going to happen when he hasn't had his greatest year ever. But that was, the big play of the game, but this was probably the most crucial play he made of the game, the 3rd and goal touchdown late in the fourth quarter, to kind of, not late in the fourth quarter, I should say, but to take that 1-score lead. And it's just Kelce being Kelce, but it's also just Mahomes and Kelce's chemistry on these. You're going to see that Texans drop into a zone. Kelce is going to run very tight to this defender right here and to Hollywood Brown's route. See, he almost runs into him, but that's on purpose. He's trying to really run tight to it and run tight because as soon as that slot defender goes out to go to Hollywood Brown, boom, Kelce's going to be right into the window right here, available for a throw. That's his anticipation. That's his plan. That's his plan A, right? So plan A is the quick window. Well, Mahomes is pressured. That window is not going to be there. And Kelce, look how fast Kelce recognizes that and shifts to the second window, right? Shifts to that window to the other side of the hook zone linebacker, Azeez Al-Shahir, who's definitely feels like he has a good read on Kelce for a second, right? He feels like Kelce's stopping there. I got him. That's what Kelce does, man. It's just his subtle movements in the peripheral of linebackers, or kind of maybe just out of the peripheral, like just knowing exactly how to manipulate their eyes. And it's just on full display here. And I can't, let this play go without showing Mahomes just willing his way to the touchdown throw, seeing it too, right? Not putting his head down. He did put his head down for a second, but he knew where Kelce was, and he didn't really put his head down. He knew that Kelce would shift to that second window. Worthy's going to hold that deep safety. There's going to be a second window there for him to throw to late. Mahomes and Kelce anticipate it like the best of them, and that's why they're the best in the business. And huge play, Caleb. Was that a good one too?
I like it. I like the staring down Shahir at the end there because he's a pretty dirty player. If people want to, he had that hit on Trevor Lawrence earlier this season, like pretty intentional that he got suspended for the first matchup against the Chiefs. But, you look at the last game against the Steelers that Kelce played, and in this game, like putting together an 80-yard, 10-reception game on Christmas Day for a touchdown, then comes out here and hits him for 117. It's starting to kind of look like old Kelce's starting to suit back up here. So just keep that. I think people should just keep that in consideration. I think he is heating up, and his usage is definitely up now also.
Well, and he's very open, honestly, about the, rest really helping him. And like he talked about it last year, letting him sit out that week 18 game, helped him kind of get ready for the playoffs. Had a few more weeks this year to get rested up and maybe a few more weeks worth of production. But, I just do want to show examples of just how committed the Texans were to stopping the Chiefs' quick pass game. This is Y-stick, very basic play in the Chiefs, first down offense playbook, right? This is a drive starting play. They like to do a lot where it just maybe gets them an easy 5-6 yards. Kelce's going to run an option route depending on the leverage, how hard the nickel's playing it, how, where the middle linebacker is. The middle linebacker's playing more of that Tampa too, where he's kind of, dropping into that middle of the field. So, Kelce could probably have maybe turned inside rather than kind of, turning to the outside. Although I'm sure, there's only so many turns in the route tree for him that Mahomes is anticipating. All that to say, 27 just does a really good job of anticipating it, being right on it. We don't see these passes go incomplete a lot. I will say, you'd like to see Mahomes maybe put the ball just a little more inside, knowing where the defenders are leveraged. He sees that. He puts the ball a little towards the outside and allows 27 to get the pass breakup. So, no, it's just, it is kind of funny. When you're watching film and you see an incompletion on Y stick, it just, jumps out to you because that is automatic for them a lot of the time. Again, it's just a really easy drive starter for them a lot of the time. And it doesn't always go to Kelce, but it seems like whenever Mahomes does throw it to Kelce on those, it's going to be complete. And here's another example. Texans playing aggressive up front. So you're going to have a third down situation here. I think it's 3rd and 5. And, you're going to have, kind of your man coverage situation where they're going to be kind of switching and picking up guys. And so Zero is first going to pick up, he's going to drop, depth trying to see who he needs to pick up. And once he realizes that he needs to pick up Gray, he triggers on it. But again, I think he does maybe play this a little coy at first. I think he may know, I think he may understand that he wants to take away Kelce here, dissuade Mahomes from going to Kelce, right? Maybe kind of look like he's the help defender, kind of taking away Kelce's, path to the inside. And so Mahomes goes right to Gray, short of the sticks. Zero makes a tackle. It's 4th down. Now, it's 4th and short. So, probably still a pretty successful play. It's not a pass breakup, but it still just shows you, I think the Texans were really key on coming in on short passes and really, strong tackling effort for the most part on those plays. So, another example of that, Al Shahir, he's the guy who hit Trevor Lawrence, like you were talking about, like definitely, an aggressive player. But, it also came down to a little bit of, I think Mahomes, I think anyone who watched that game, Mahomes had, a few awesome throws, especially I will show the Hollywood Brown one that should have been complete. But, I do think it came down to a little bit, unfortunately, just, I think there might've been a little rust for Mahomes because I just feel like some of his throws were just, a little inaccurate, especially in the quick passing game. We just saw one of them. I just showed you that Y stick, right? I think that, is just kind of just a little bit off placement. This is the same thing where, Pacheco drops this ball, he needs to catch this, but he does have to turn around for it. And turning around just completely kills this momentum, allows him to get lit up, by the oncoming defender. let's say Pacheco catches this with his shoulders turned like they originally are, can catch it, turn upfield. He may have that momentum, that speed where he can maybe shake that leg tackle and get, positive yards there. So it's the little things. This was another example behind Hopkins on the throw. So, it just kind of shows you, and we already saw this example. So it just shows you that, I think 15 will definitely have a better game on Sunday. I think he'll come up for the stakes. And he could have, put the Chiefs in better position, maybe with a few, just more precise throws. When you look at this one on the third down before the field goal that put them up 10, this drive could have kept alive. They come out a bunch, Worthy's the last one out, and that allows him to kind of get, 27 to be backing up and give him the step to the sideline. And so it's kind of the same thing as the Pacheco thing. If Worthy catches this in stride, he has a chance to use his speed, turn up the sideline, and get at least the first down, right? Well, he has to turn around for it and loses his momentum and gets tackled, and he's short of the sticks. So it's very much the little things, and I do think we don't have to worry about that with 15. As these games get more and more meaningful, I just thought it was noteworthy, that there were some missed opportunities, maybe even in the struggles, and these were two of the biggest, Caleb. The first one from, after we get the big kick return, we stall in the red zone, but boy, did we cook up something that could have scored in the red zone with Hollywood Brown running the out and up out of a bunch, right? He motions over last second. So D-Hop is going to take this near side, the play side safety with him, and the corner, I should say, the play side corner with him, as they're kind of playing that kind of shell quarters coverage. And they're both going to pay so much attention that, they completely, disregard the sideline again, because that's where D-Hop came from. But the wheel route kind of out and up kind of type of play, man, it was there. Mahomes, good timing and everything, just a little too far. And, we'll hope we see that connection maybe in this next game or in these next couple of games, because that would have been a very, very fun play to start things off, but just out of reach. And then the only other time Mahomes threw it more than 20 yards downfield was again to Hollywood Brown. And this was a beauty of a freaking throw. Just an absolute dime when you talk about where it is on his outside shoulder, where he's catching it over his shoulder, where the defenders are. My God, and it just cannot get secured. But this would have been a crazy play. But again, just kind of shows you, look at the safety right here, Caleb. This safety playing super down right here, almost anticipating the throw. Here's the sticks, almost anticipating that throw at the sticks. Watch Hollywood Brown come off the line, kind of pace his route for a second, and then boom, just explode, gets on top of him. That's a veteran kind of route right there. And that's what the Chiefs need to do to make teams pay for playing, so aggressive up front. They just weren't able to necessarily do it with the Texans, except for a few plays to Travis, which that's just Travis being Travis.
And honestly, this play right here, if you go back just a hair on this, go back to the other one. I keep meeting myself. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I would honestly, if I'm the Chiefs this week, I'd run something similar, but I'd have the running back, sell for a second and then come out of the backfield also. But you got to have, Kelsey come
to the right.
Yeah, to the right there, because it's going to turn into a little clear out. That may be where we see like a P. Ryan play or like a Kareem Hunt play in the red zone. I think that's also on the table, because now you've kind of got this as the sell for what they want to do. And I think if you can get Kareem Hunt one-on-one against a secondary player, he's probably going to break the tackle the way he looked like he was running this week when he had the ball here. That's just what I have. And then you go back to the other one. And I do think it's funny because you do have Hollywood and Xavier Worthy now, and it is kind of like this unproven duo, but now you have two fast guys. And historically, the Bills were massacred in the past, except for the playoff game last year by Tyreek and McCole Hardman, both having massive, they both had big games. They've both had big games against Buffalo in the past. So I'm curious if, this week it's going to be Xavier running the routes, doing what he's got to do. That's just kind of what I'll be looking for here. I thought the one play Xavier made was outstanding on the ball, though. So I'll be curious to see if they could both get more run.
Just to go back to this play. Well, and I do want to say, first of all, you made a point about, getting that clear out route on this play. behind the wheel route where, that defender's chasing, all of a sudden there's nobody in the flat. Or, obviously that flat defender may respect the running back in the flat out of the gates, and then that wheel route is wide open. But I will say, if you watch back that Buffalo game in week 11, the Chiefs really had an emphasis on, design plays to get playmakers. Like it was McCole actually a few times, but, just other guys, speed guys or just playmakers, with the ball under those zone coverages, right? Pushing the zone coverage deep, making them all drop back, and then Mahomes getting it to them kind of, with momentum moving forward kind of into, while the zone defenders are moving back. I do think you're right that we could see even more kind of, work to get, Worthy kind of, moving. But, again, I also think you could see some more of this downfield stuff because Buffalo is, I think Sean McDermott's the type to, he's played the Chiefs enough times, it's not going to maybe look the same, and he might switch stuff up. I could see him kind of, really playing into the man coverage that we saw from the last game that we haven't always seen from the Bills, right? They really played into more man coverage last time. And I could see them really paying for doing that in this game.
And you also saw that the Ravens kind of gutted Buffalo a little bit in their passing game. Obviously, the turnovers kind of were the deciding factor in that game. But I thought there were some plays where Isaiah Likely's running wide open down the field, and you're thinking, how does Isaiah Likely run wide open? Obviously, the threat of Baltimore's run game was there, but I mean, the threat of the Chiefs' run game could be there also, I hope.
Yeah, no, I honestly think, both quarterbacks, but the underrated, storylines, for both offenses probably is how well the running game can do. Kareem Hunt, for the Chiefs, I think a lot of people are seeing now that, he probably deserves to be the lead back. And then, on the other side, James Cook is that electric type of back that, if the Chiefs aren't careful with how they handle him, if they leave him one-on-one with linebackers too often, or, and our linebackers have a tough time in covering the flat sometimes. You don't want to have that bad angle when it's Cook going to the flat. So, run game or just, getting the ball to the running backs, I think huge X factor for both offenses.
Yeah. I mean, it could turn into the Hunt and Cook game pretty quick.
Definitely could. It's going to be a lot of different factors in this game. Too much to talk about here tonight. But make sure you're checking out arrowheadpride.com. Got tons of great articles getting posted about the game coming up. Looking back at the game, I had me and Caleb both have our film reviews out on the site right now from this past game. Stuff we just talked about tonight, but, written word sometimes is nice too. And so, we're getting out of here, and we are, saluting or signing off, I should say, before a huge AFC Championship, a chance to get to another Super Bowl and one last step for the three-peat, Caleb. I don't know, lots of stakes here. Any final thoughts on just kind of the we're here at the moment. This we've been waiting for this moment all year. Any final thoughts heading into the precipice game?
It's time, man. I mean, this is what it's all about. You've got a chance to go for a three-peat. Before we cut it off, I'm going to share one more clip. I hope we have just a little bit of time. But
I'm not in any hurry.
I wanted to say, though, that a part of this game coming up, at least in my opinion, is going to be, a little bit of toughness in there. And I do think just at the current time with where the Chiefs are at and everything that they've gone through this season, I think that they do have to rely on Kareem Hunt. I think that this could be the game where Kareem Hunt's Kansas City career comes full circle. I just think the Bills have given me a lot of chances this season to believe that the Chiefs could run the football on them if they really wanted to. And if the Chiefs came out in some light boxes, they had the Bills in this illusion that they want to play man defense, I think they could hit some home runs. This is just a play I really liked just because I love the general physicality out of the Chiefs. But you just see right here, Kelsey bodying back into Will Anderson to give Tooney a hand, and he puts a decent shot on him to work this over. Tooney gets some reach. Caliendo works to the second level. He doesn't make his block, but he forces the man to go around. And Hunt's just running through people, finishing with authority through the play. Obviously he was fired up because that was this was the drive that had them go down the field and, more or less seal the game. So I think if there was a way that the Chiefs could maybe shock people, it's that they could possibly come out and run. I know it's going to be interesting with Caliendo and Tooney in there. We didn't really discuss that a lot tonight, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes you got to be a little unexpected in these situations.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, parting thoughts, I guess, here just on like where the last matchup with the Bills, we talked about the defensive changes, but Chiefs offense had Wanya Morris at left tackle, Joe Tooney at left guard. This last game against the Texans, a more talented pass rush than Buffalo, first of all. But also, yeah, I mean, that pass rush just saw that combination of offensive linemen a month ago. I mean, there's an advantage to that, I think, probably for both sides, obviously. But Buffalo has not been, last time, we had Greg Russo beating up on Wanya Morris. I will say, huge key point will be Von Miller versus Jawan Taylor on the other side. Von Miller exclusively lines up on that side, and he definitely gave Jawan Taylor a lot of trouble in that last game. So that's going to be important. But, Tooney all of a sudden, if, locking down, that left side where, the Bills were getting a little more pressure than, you'd probably like to see if you're, a Chiefs coach that last game. I don't know if the pressure will be as impactful this game with Joe Tooney at left tackle. Is there any chance Andy Reid flips that though, and then all of a sudden DJ Humphries is playing left tackle? I mean, you never know. Ed Oliver inside, maybe that influences him enough.
Break glass in case of emergency. It's championship week. Nothing's off the table. Baseball reference in the playoffs. You can't wait too long to pull the pitcher. So, I think they'll see where they're at. But I am confident. And there's just something about the Bills, man, that the Chiefs always rise to the occasion. They were in this game last year, and I thought Jawan Taylor actually played a pretty good football game on the right side last year against the same dudes. That's the thing that's crazy about the Chiefs and the Bills. You take a look at, the bits and pieces, but the key guys are still the key guys.
Yeah.
More or less across the board. Diggs and Tyreek are gone. They are off doing their own things, making money elsewhere, not competing, but I mean, it's the same guys that it's been for the last few seasons. So, they know each other. We know them. It's like, it's going to come down to it. I would expect a pretty tight game, but, hopefully Arrowhead will be fired up and give the Chiefs just that little bit of advantage.
Maybe this is obvious or not, but I do think it'll come down to, which defense can just make, the most big plays, significant kind of game-changing plays, because I think both offenses are going to be able to, find their way. And for the most part, I'd have more confidence that our defense can find a way to shut down Buffalo's offense in certain situations. And so that's why I'm pretty confident going into this game that the Chiefs can take care of business. And I'm, this is what they've been building up for, Mahomes, Kelsey, all of them, the opportunity for the three-peat. I think coaches even too. I think you'll see the best from everybody. And this is just our reign, our time, our dynasty. I mean, we're not letting anything stop it. I think we're going to see that on Sunday, Caleb.
Yeah. And I saw a couple of Bills fans going, this is going to be Josh Allen's, Pistons, Bulls, Michael Jordan moment. I'm like, you guys better be careful. This is going to be your Utah Jazz moment pretty soon. So be careful of that. Be careful what you wish for.
Well, I don't think the NFL has ever had a Michael Jordan until Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's only right he gets to that opportunity to get the first three-peat in NFL history. Can't wait for this game. Can't wait for Sunday. Can't wait for all the rest of the Chiefs talk the rest of this week heading into it. Make sure you're following at arrowheadpride.com. Make sure you are following us on Twitter. I'm sure we'll both, continue to be tweeting out stats and clips as we get ready for this game. I know Caleb's definitely looking at some stuff to think about with Josh Allen and the Bills offense. So let's get after it. Let's get the kingdom rocking, the kingdom ready for Sunday. We'll see the sea of red there. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Appreciate you following along. And we will just catch you next week. All right. We're out.